One of the great new features released by OpenAI at their dev day a few weeks ago was the ability to create your own GPT without knowing how to code. So in today's video, what I'd love to do is show you how to do just that. So it's important to note before we get started that as of today, when I'm filming this, which is in November of 2023, you do need a paid GPT account in order to access the feature that I'm about to show you. Paid accounts are around $20 a month, and I highly suggest going ahead and getting it so you can try some of these amazing features out. If you find that you're not using it, then you can always cancel at any given point. But for the rest of this tutorial, I'm going to assume that you've got a paid GPT account or that you're going to get one so that you can access the rest of the features on this tutorial. All right, so to get started, we need to make sure that we've got our side menu activated. And let's go over to the Explore button. I'm going to close this back up. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and go to Create a GPT. Now, in order to do this, you're going to see here, it gives you a little bit of a prompt. What would you like to make? So here, you're going to tell it exactly the kind of GPT you'd like it to be. Now, the point of these is to allow you to create some specialized use cases, ideally using your data. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it I would like to make a GPT that can help me write great marketing emails that we can send to customers and prospects using best practices. Okay, so I'm going to prompt it and tell it this is exactly what I'm looking for it to do. And it's going to go ahead and start building. Now, as it's building, it's going to go ahead and start walking me through a series of steps in order to be able to tune this to my particular use case. So here it is, it's updated. Now we're going to say, all right, this is great. What would you like to call this thing? Would you like to call it email craftsmith is what it gives it as a name. And I would say, no, let's call it Super Web Pros Email Maker. Not a great name, but just to show that we can have it now rename itself without having to do any kind of coding or training. This is just us filling in the prompt and responding to it in time. Now, it's also going to start generating a profile picture based on the prompts it's received so far. Under the hood, I assume it's using the DALL-E API, but I don't know. So let's go ahead and let it generate that profile picture. And here it is. Now, in my mind, I don't love this particular picture, so I'm going to ask it to change it. Can you make it look more like an icon, maybe in the style of a doodle? And here it will go ahead and start to change the profile picture based on the prompt that I've given it. Okay? So here is the prompt, or here is the corrected logo. Again, I don't love this, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to just go ahead and keep it as is. Now, if I wanted to, I could continue to tell it to refine, but in the interest of saving time, I'm going to skip that and just assume that this logo is okay. Now, in a previous one of my videos, I showed that one of the great new features that was released by OpenAI during their dev day was the ability to import large amounts of text and use it as a way to train either inside of a session or inside of a training model. So here, what I'm going to do in order to show you what that looks like in real life is I'm going to go ahead and upload a bunch of data to this in order to help train it and show you how that part works. So let's go ahead and dive right back in with that feature in mind. If you haven't seen the video, you can click the link somewhere on this video in order to check that out. Now, here we are. I've got a massive amount of emails from a swipe file that we've collected from a bunch of really great marketers or people that have written some really great transactional emails. Here you can see it's about 19,000, almost 20,000 words, 119,000 characters, and a ton of lines, 4,000, almost 5,000 lines, and 1,000 paragraphs. So this is what I'm going to use as my data set in order to train my GPT. Okay, so here I am back inside of my GPT prompt. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that document. I'm going to click the little paperclip and upload that document of all of those emails. And I'm going to let it know this is an example, or this document contains several examples of emails that have the style and tone that I want for transactional emails. Please add this to your knowledge for this GPT. And I'll go ahead and click enter, and it's going to go ahead and upload those things. Okay, it looks like it just finished, and now it says the Super Web Pros email maker is now updated with knowledge from the provided examples, and it's now able to assist me in creating effective and engaging emails. And then you'll see here, feel free to try this out in the playground on the right. If I have any questions or refinements, I can go ahead and do that. Now over here, what you'll notice is that it's got a couple of prompts to start, and you may have noticed that these prompts switched from what they were a few minutes ago, because now it's used this data, and it says based on this data, these might be some prompts that are that are now desirable. Now if I go back into configure, I can go ahead and add more prompts. Please help me write an engaging product email. And I can go ahead and remove some. I think you can only have 4 maximum. So let's go ahead and get rid of the announcement email. And then here you go. Now you can see, please help me write an engaging product email. So if I don't like these initial prompts, I can remove and change them. It looks like you can only have 4, even though it gives you spots for more of them. You can only have 4 at a time. Now let's go ahead and have it see how it works. So we're gonna go ahead and test it. I'm gonna go back to the create and just go, let's go ahead and compose a transactional email for a new service. So it's going to go ahead and start searching its knowledge, so that way it has this in memory as it's getting ready to work. Okay, so it looks like it's ready to go, and it says now based on the styles and tones observed in the examples, here's a transactional email for introducing a new service. So here's an example. Thrilled to introduce the latest offering. We constantly blah, 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 blah. And then it's got some things, okay, why service name, some benefits, special launch offer, how to get started. Now, if we come back here and we look at our training data, which I don't have super formatted, what you're gonna see is that a lot of these appear to be pretty conversational. But many of them also have some bullets, some actionable insights. So by submitting to your Google Ads campaign, you'll receive 1, 2, 3, 4. Over here, we see a couple of instances where, whoops, it looks like I'm scrolling over. We see a couple of instances here, again, more bullets, and a lot of very conversational, very bullet-oriented emails. So now going back to the example it gave me, we can see that it took that idea and said, okay, let's try and make these conversational. Let's add some bullets. And it's using this as training. Now, I can refine it a little bit more if I like it. So what I might ask is, can you please prompt the user for the call to action they want in the email? There should only be one call to action per email. And as I give it this prompt, the GPT builder is going to go back to work. It's going to start updating the GPT, and we'll see here momentarily that it's going to refresh again this particular side over here so I can try and see if it's gotten any better. Okay, so here we are. It looks like it's done processing, and now back over here in the playground, I can try again. You see it's updated the description in order to recognize that I asked for specific calls to action. You can also see that it's updated the configuration prompts here now. And so the configuration prompts are now a little bit more related to how I've trained it. Now again, I can go back and update these. For now, I'm just going to leave them as they are. And so I'm going to go ahead and say, write a marketing email with a call to action for a webinar. Let's see what it does. Again, it's going to go back through the reference materials that I've given it in order to help figure out, can I go ahead and provide a good email with a call to action for a webinar? And there are some examples in this training set of emails with webinars. So here we go. Unlock the secrets of effective marketing in our exclusive webinar. Hello, recipient's name or your ability to elevate your game. We're thrilled to invite you to this particular thing. Your chance to learn from experts. Here's a sneak peek of what you'll learn. Again, we're back to bullets. very clear call to action, and then we put a little bit of sales pressure because many of these emails that we have some sales pressure. Don't miss the opportunity to join other enthusiasts in this knowledge-packed session. Now, in this particular case, it's making a lot of assumptions about the fact that this is in fact for marketing as a webinar. And if I had a different product, I would need to probably change the prompt and say, hey, actually, I'm not doing marketing. The webinar is about financial, let's say financial planning for millennials. I don't know how to spell that. I think it's something like that. For millennials. And let's see now, let's go ahead and revise it. And again, we keep our conversational tone. It's got the same thing where it's keeping date and time. It's got bullets just like some of the best practice ones we've seen before. It's got the same call to action, secure your spot. And again, more than just a webinar, it's a step towards financial empowerment. It's got a lot more sales type language and sales type pacing, because what I've trained it on are dozens of examples where that's in fact what we want. Now, there are actually a ton of things that you can do inside of the configuration. So I want to show you that really, really quickly, but we won't spend a lot of time on it. But this will show you a little bit about what's happening under the hood as your prompting is changing and it's refining its model. So let's jump into that really quickly. So here you'll see the updated logo that we gave it before. We'll see the name that we told it to, that we told the thing we wanted to call it, Super Web Pros Email Maker. And we see a short description that's getting updated as we're continuing to train it. We also can see here inside of the instructions that when we're giving it some training, the instructions here are starting to update and get refined every single time that we add more information to the training prompt. And this is really what it's using in order to start really kind of fine-tuning this prompt alongside of the knowledge that we've fed it. So if we've had multiple documents we want to feed it, we can go ahead and do that. And again, one of the important things here is that garbage in, garbage out. We have to be really aware of what we're putting in. Inside of here, I can also decide whether or not I want it to be able to do web browsing, whether I want it to be able to generate images. And then we can also do things like create new actions. Now, this isn't something that we've played with a lot quite yet. But what this is intended to do is allow for us to go ahead and add additional features to extend this particular GPT that maybe a developer would need to help you with in order to import data or connect with other databases, etc. Again, this is something we haven't played with a lot yet, and when we do, we'll make another video and talk about how that works. Going back down to the bottom there, let me remove this action here, delete it really quickly. All right, we've also got some additional settings. And one of the most important things here is whether or not you want to use the conversation data to improve our models. Now, I don't know whether or not you checking or unchecking that box will in fact change whether or not the data is stored or for how long. I would suggest checking out the terms of service, but otherwise maybe just uncheck that box if you're not comfortable with it. Now, as you're getting started with this, it's important to recognize a couple of things that may be frustrating or that you may need to just be aware of as you're getting started. So one of the first things is that it can make mistakes. If you keep trying to overtune or overfit it, it will get to a point where it starts to loop back on itself and start repeating the same errors over and over and over again. For instance, when we were first starting to train this, I kept trying to tell it to, make sure you ask a question, make sure you ask a question. And sometimes it would. And then I would give it some more features or some more things like, make sure you include a call to action, and then it would forget to ask a question, right? So one of the important things you're going to need to do is make sure, one, you've got some patience while you're playing with this, but the two is the more you try to make it super specific, the more likely it is that maybe it goes off the rails in some unexpected way. So you want to really make sure that your instructions are prescriptive enough to help you accomplish your goal, but not so prescriptive that you're really sort of forcing it to a point where it just gets confused. The model does still need some room to wiggle around. The second thing worth noting about all of this is that it really is a matter of garbage in, garbage out. So for instance, if I had just scraped those emails and hadn't really read them all and uploaded them, and I was getting frustrated at the training results, it might not be that the model itself is wrong. It might be that I didn't take a close enough look at the emails to give it a good enough starting point to begin with. So if you're going to use your data in order to train one of these things, you do want to make sure that you or somebody on your team has taken some time to screen what data is going to get uploaded in order to make sure that you're not going to get terrible results that aren't the fault of the model, but in fact are the fault of your poor data. Finally, although OpenAI says it'll only store your data for 30 days and that they don't keep it or mine it or anything like that, I still would be wary of putting in really sensitive data because there's no guarantee that you have no idea what's happening after the fact. It is going into a bit of a black box. And if you do want to train a model on your data and on some of your more sensitive data, then you might need to look at using a more custom solution. And if that's where you are, please reach out and maybe me or someone from my team can help you figure out how to navigate those waters. Finally, when you're done tweaking your GPT and you've got it where you want it, you can come up here and save it. And what's great is that you can save it and keep it private only to yourself, or you can make it available to people with a link. In this case, here is the link that it makes it available to if I shared it and I gave it permissions for that, or you can make it publicly available. Now, again, in the same way that you need GPT-4 in order to be able to create one of these personalized GPTs, whoever is using the link also needs to have GPT-4, at least as of today. That will likely change in the future. One of the things that GPT is looking to do is actually create a GPT store, almost think like the App Store, but for GPTs. And they are looking to be able to pay creators who get really popular GPTs. So that's going to be a fun thing for a certain group of people. But as of right now, if you do, in fact, save your GPT and you give the link to somebody, they will need to have another Pro GPT account in order to be able to use it. But if you're using it internally, you can maybe just share logins with your team so that way they're able to use the GPT that you've programmed to accomplish your goals. And that's pretty much it for now. As you can see, it's really easy to get started making your own GPT. You can upload documents in order to add it to the memory, so that way it gets more fine-tuned based on the information that you give it. You do need a pro account to make this happen and to make it work. But as you can see in just a few minutes, with some training data and some good prompts, I'm able to put something together that I could use or that I could have somebody on my team use in order to, in this case, write transactional emails. But it could be any number of other things, writing quotes, coming up with onboarding documentation, analyzing spreadsheets. Really, the limit is your imagination. Now, if you're a company with at least 10 employees and you're not sure where to start with AI in your business, I encourage you to go ahead and download our Pro AI Growth Map. In here, this one-page handout will walk you through 4 stages of AI development, what you should be focused on at each stage, what opportunities exist, the biggest challenges, and the resources and skills required, as well as a handful of example projects and the level of investment you should expect to make in order to move along the map. In addition, the bundle includes a glossary of terms that you may need to know in order to be able to speak about AI, both with your team and with the development team that you choose to work with if you decide to pursue an AI project. Finally, if you want some practical solutions on how to use AI in your business, I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to this channel where we'll continue to produce content that shows you how we're using this in our business. And if you've got a team of more than 10 people and you're trying to figure out how you might use AI in your organization, I encourage you to go ahead and click the link somewhere below and schedule a free brainstorming session with me or someone from my team. During that call, we'd love to talk with you about some of the ways that AI might be useful in your business to help you get started moving to the 21st century and beyond. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.